Vexalthari pressed her six-fingered hand against the observation deck's viewing portal, watching the blue marble spin in the darkness ahead. 27 Deathworlds had fallen beneath her strategic mind, volcanic hellscapes where metal boiled in the atmosphere, ice planets where gravity crushed bone to powder, radiation-soaked wastelands that killed with a single breath. None had ever glowed like this one. "Survey leader," whispered her aide, Corvain Tell, his voice trembling with barely controlled fear. "The energy readings, they're not matching any known biological signatures in our databases." Vexalthari's mandibles clicked in irritation. She had not risen to command the Dominion's most elite Deathworld conquest division by allowing fear to cloud her judgment. Her species, the Kirnathi, had perfected the art of planetary subjugation across 14 galactic arms. Their biomechanical ships could adapt to any environment. Their soldiers could survive in conditions that would liquefy most carbon-based life forms. But Earth was different. The planet's electromagnetic signature pulsed with rhythms that seemed almost deliberate, as if the world itself was breathing, thinking, waiting. The preliminary scans showed impossible biodiversity, creatures that should have devoured each other instead coexisting in complex webs of interdependence. Oceans that should have been acidic graveyards instead teemed with life forms that generated their own light. "How long since our deep space reconnaissance probes reached this system?" Vexalthari asked, her compound eyes never leaving the hypnotic blue glow. 17 rotations, survey leader. The automated units were programmed to establish orbital surveillance and transmit detailed biometric data every 6 time cycles. "And their reports?" Corvain Tell's breathing apparatus wheezed with nervous energy. "The last coherent transmission was 14 rotations ago. Since then, static. Electromagnetic interference patterns that our analysts cannot decode." Something crawled along the edges of her awareness, like a predator stalking through tall grass. "Show me the final probe transmissions." The holographic display materialized between them, casting eerie shadows across the command center. Buried in the quantum-encrypted data signature, almost invisible unless one knew exactly where to look, was something that made her blood crystallize. The probe's bioscanners had detected organized thermal emissions from the planet's surface, massive energy grids that spanned thousands of kilometers, connecting population centers with precision that spoke of advanced engineering. According to their intelligence reports, Earth's dominant species, these so-called humans, barely possessed spaceflight capabilities. Primitive chemical propulsion, crude nuclear technology, basic electromagnetic communications. How could a barely spacefaring civilization construct planetary-scale energy networks that their most sophisticated scanning equipment could barely detect? "Corvain Tell," she said slowly, "access the Dominion archives. I want every recorded conquest of carbon-based civilizations from the past 2,000 rotations." Within moments, the hologram expanded to show conquest records of 63 different worlds. Vexalthari studied them with the focused intensity of a hunter examining prey tracks. Each world showed predictable energy signatures before conquest, heat patterns that matched natural geological processes, electromagnetic emissions consistent with the technological level of the dominant species. Earth showed none of these patterns. "Survey leader," Corvain Tell interrupted, his voice carrying new urgency. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface." Vexalthari's combat instincts sharpened to razor focus. No Deathworld civilization had ever detected their surveillance ships at this distance. Their stealth technology rendered them invisible to any sensor array short of Dominion-level quantum detection systems. "Impossible. Check for system malfunctions." "All systems functioning within normal parameters. The transmission it's directed specifically at our position." Static filled the chamber, but underneath the electromagnetic noise was something else. Patterns within patterns, signals that seemed to shift and change, even as she listened. Then, cutting through the static like a blade through flesh, came a voice speaking perfect Kionathi battle language, a dialect known only to the highest levels of Dominion military command. "Welcome to Earth, Vex Althari of the Deep Survey Division. We have been waiting for you to arrive." The transmission ended, leaving them in stunned silence. How did they know her name, her exact position, her division classification? That information was encrypted in quantum-sealed databases that existed only in the most secure Dominion facilities, light years away from this primitive backwater system. Unless... Corvain Tell, run a deep scan analysis on that transmission. I want to know everything. Carrier wave frequency, quantum signature, temporal displacement measurements. Everything. As her aide worked frantically at the biomechanical controls, Vex Althari stared at the glowing blue world below and felt the first whisper of something she had never encountered in 27 previous conquests. The possibility that she was not the hunter, but the hunted. The analysis results materialized 2 cycles later, and Vex Althari wished they hadn't. The transmission bore quantum signatures that were impossible, encoding techniques that wouldn't be developed by Dominion science for another century, embedded in electromagnetic frequencies that demonstrated mastery of physics principles. Her civilization was only beginning to theorize. But the most disturbing discovery was the temporal displacement reading. According to their instruments, the transmission had been sent before their arrival in the Earth system. "Corvain Tell," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos raging in her consciousness centers. "How long does our intelligence estimate humans have possessed radio communication?" "Approximately 100 rotations, survey leader. Primitive amplitude and frequency modulation, barely sufficient for planetary surface communication." "And space flight?" "Less than 20 rotations. Chemical propulsion only, insufficient for significant orbital construction or interplanetary travel." Either their instruments were experiencing systematic failure across multiple independent systems, or Earth's primitive civilization possessed technology that surpassed the Dominion's most advanced capabilities in specific, highly targeted areas. "Prepare the secondary survey probes. I want detailed scans of every electromagnetic emission from the surface." "Undiyu." As the biomechanical systems powered up their scanning arrays, Vex Althari accessed her personal command files and began composing a priority transmission to Dominion High Command. 27 Deathworld conquests had taught her to trust her instincts, and every instinct screamed that Earth was not what it appeared to be. The secondary probes launched silently, their stealth systems rendering them invisible to conventional detection methods as they descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Too smoothly. In her experience, Deathworlds that supported complex civilizations inevitably developed some form of orbital monitoring. Earth's apparent lack of such systems had initially seemed like confirmation of human technological limitations. Now it struck her as either impossible incompetence or deliberate deception. The first probe reached the Terminator line, where Earth's day met night, and its sensors immediately began detecting patterns that made Vex Althari's compound eyes dilate with shock. The night side of the planet wasn't dark. It blazed with artificial illumination that covered entire continents in geometric grids of almost mathematical precision. These weren't random urban sprawls powered by primitive electrical generation. The energy distribution patterns showed signs of engineering sophistication that rivaled Dominion infrastructure projects. Power conduits that spanned thousands of kilometers without apparent loss efficiency. Transportation networks that moved resources with timing so precise it suggested real-time quantum coordination across planetary distances. "Survey leader," Corvain Tell whispered. "The probe is detecting subsurface structures, massive construction projects beneath major population centers. Some of these excavations extend kilometers into the planetary crust. The holographic display shifted to reveal cross-sectional scans of human cities. Beneath the surface, structures visible to orbital observation lay vast underground complexes that dwarfed anything the Dominion had encountered in previous conquests. Tunnels wide enough to accommodate their largest battle cruisers, chambers that could house entire fleets. Construction techniques that showed mastery of materials science and structural engineering at levels that approached Dominion standards. How long would construction of this magnitude require? Corvain-Tell's tentacles danced across calculation matrices. Given human technological limitations, as reported in our intelligence files, approximately 800 rotations, minimum. But humans have only possessed industrial technology for approximately 200 rotations. Correct, survey leader. Either their intelligence about human technological development was catastrophically wrong, or Earth's civilization was far older and more advanced than anyone in the Dominion had ever suspected. A third possibility whispered at the edges of Vex Althari's consciousness, that humanity had received help from someone else. The probe's sensors began detecting additional anomalies. Electromagnetic emissions from the planet's polar regions showed signatures consistent with massive energy generation, not fusion or antimatter, but something that operated on principles their physics databases couldn't identify. The transmission patterns suggested communication networks that operated faster than light, a technological achievement that had eluded even the Dominion's most advanced research divisions. Are our probes detecting any signs of weapon systems? Nothing that matches standard defensive installation patterns, survey leader. No orbital platforms, no surface-to-space missile arrays, no energy weapon emplacements. Yet Vex Althari felt no relief. In her experience, civilizations capable of planetary-scale engineering projects didn't leave themselves defenseless. They either possessed such advanced defensive capabilities that the systems were invisible to conventional scanning, or they were confident that conventional weapons posed no threat to them. The probe transmitted new data as it passed over what humans apparently called the Pacific Ocean. Beneath the water's surface, sonar readings detected structures that defied explanation. Geometric formations that stretched across thousands of kilometers of ocean floor, built with the same inexplicable precision as the underground urban complexes. But these structures weren't architectural, they were musical. The sonar returns revealed vast arrays of resonating chambers positioned at specific intervals across the ocean bottom. When analyzed as an integrated system, the chambers formed a single massive instrument capable of generating acoustic frequencies across the entire spectrum of possibility. Low-frequency waves that could travel through planetary crust. High-frequency harmonics that could interface with electromagnetic systems. Subsonic patterns that could affect biological nervous systems across entire continents. Survey leader, Corvain-Tell said, his voice barely above a whisper. If these acoustic arrays were activated simultaneously, they could turn the entire planet into a weapon, Vex Althari finished. Earth wasn't just a death world harboring an unexpectedly advanced civilization. It was a death world that had been deliberately engineered as a weapon system, with its human inhabitants serving as either operators or camouflage. She thought of the 27 previous Death World conquests, each following predictable patterns. Initial resistance based on primitive weapons and desperate courage. Gradual defeat as superior Dominion technology overwhelmed local defenses. Final subjugation as surviving populations adapted to Dominion rule or faced extinction. None of those worlds had possessed the capability to fight back on an interstellar scale. Earth apparently did. Recall the probe immediately and send a priority transmission to Dominion High Command. Full encryption, quantum-sealed channels only. As Corvain-Tell initiated the complex communication protocols, Vex Althari composed a message that would likely end her career. or earn her the highest military honors the Dominion could bestow. High Command Priority Alert. Survey Leader Vex Althari, Deep Survey Division. Earth system presents unprecedented anomalies requiring immediate strategic reassessment. Recommend suspension of standard conquest protocols pending further investigation. Human civilization shows signs of technological capabilities exceeding initial intelligence estimates by several orders of magnitude. Possible Deathworld weaponization detected. Request immediate consultation with Strategic Planning Division and Deep Intelligence Archives. She sealed the message and watched it compress into quantum-encrypted data streams that would reach Dominion High Command faster than light could travel. In 6 rotations, she would either receive orders for immediate withdrawal or reinforcement by the largest battle fleet in Dominion history. The blue world continued to glow in the viewports, its mysterious radiance seeming to pulse with each passing moment like a vast heart beating in the darkness. And for the first time in her distinguished military career, Vex Althari found herself wondering whether her ships were the predators approaching their prey, or prey swimming directly into a trap that had been waiting for them longer than anyone could possibly imagine. 6 rotations passed before High Command responded, and when the reply arrived, it brought with it revelations that shattered everything Vex Althari thought she knew about Earth and humanity's place in the galactic order. Survey Leader Vex Althari, the holographic projection of High Admiral Thexis Vaughn, materialized in her private command chamber, his ancient features bearing expressions of concern she had never seen in 40 rotations of military service. Your report has created significant disturbance among the Strategic Council. We are transmitting classified intelligence files that were sealed 2 centuries ago. The data packages materialized in her personal access matrix, each one bearing encryption seals that indicated highest-level security classification. 217 rotations ago, a Dominion deep space exploration vessel had detected electromagnetic emissions from the Sol system. A survey fleet had been dispatched under the command of arch-strategist Kelvin Moore. The fleet had arrived at Earth to find a planet inhabited by creatures matching the description of modern humans, but possessing technology that appeared to be late industrial age. Steam power, basic metallurgy, primitive chemical energy sources. Initial conquest plans proceeded normally, then humanity had done something impossible. They surrendered. Not the desperate last-ditch surrender of a species facing extinction, but a calm, calculated capitulation that included detailed proposals for integration into Dominion hierarchy, complete technological specifications for their industrial capabilities, and comprehensive population surveys that demonstrated precise knowledge of Dominion administrative requirements. The surrender documents had been delivered by human representatives who spoke fluent Dominion languages, including military dialects and technical terminology that should have been completely unknown to any species outside the Dominion's sphere of influence. For 30 rotations, Earth had operated as a model Dominion protectorate. Human workers provided raw materials and agricultural products. Human scientists collaborated on research projects within carefully controlled parameters. Human administrators managed local governance under Dominion oversight. Everything proceeded according to standard post-conquest protocols until the day Kelvin Moore's flagship simply vanished. No distress signals, no signs of mechanical failure, no evidence of attack. The massive battle cruiser Eternal Dominance, along with its crew of 4,000 Dominion personnel, disappeared from Earth orbit without leaving so much as a debris field. Within 1 rotation, the entire occupation fleet began experiencing systematic failures. Communication systems would transmit nonsensical signals. Navigation computers would chart courses into stellar phenomena that didn't exist. Life support systems would malfunction in ways that suggested sabotage, but security investigations found no evidence of tampering. The surviving ships retreated from Earth after losing 60% of their personnel to mysterious equipment failures, unexplained medical conditions, and what the official reports classified as psychological breakdown events of unknown origin. Arch-strategist Kelvin Moore's final transmission, sent as his command ship limped away from Earth at maximum sustainable velocity, consisted of a single sentence: "They let us think we were winning." Following the disaster, High Command had classified Earth as a prohibited zone and buried all records of the failed conquest under maximum security protocols. Vex Althari finished reading the historical files and sat in stunned silence. Either the previous human civilization had possessed capabilities far beyond anything their current technology suggested, or modern humans were deliberately concealing their true abilities behind a facade of primitive development. "Corvain Tell," she called. "Run a comparative analysis of the historical data with our current sensor readings. I want to know if there are any matches between the human technology documented 2 centuries ago and what we're detecting now." "Survey leader," Corvain Tell reported minutes later, his voice tight with disbelief. "The comparative analysis shows 94% correlation between historical human energy signatures and current readings. The same underground construction patterns, the same electromagnetic emission frequencies, the same acoustic resonance arrays beneath their oceans. You're telling me that human technology hasn't changed at all in 200 rotations?" "Not changed, survey leader. Expanded. The current installations are approximately 40 times larger than what was documented in the historical records." 40 times larger meant that whatever had destroyed Kelvin Moore's fleet now possessed capabilities that could potentially threaten entire Dominion sectors. And if humans had been planning this encounter for 2 centuries, every aspect of their current situation had been carefully orchestrated. "Analyze our approach route to Earth. Check for any deviations from standard navigation protocols." The navigation logs revealed that their entire journey to Earth had been guided by a series of navigational anomalies that had subtly influenced their course selection. Stellar phenomena that had appeared on their sensors but weren't present in Dominion star charts. Gravitational disturbances that had required minor course corrections. Communication delays that had affected their timing. Individually, each anomaly was minor enough to be dismissed as routine space navigation hazards. Collectively, they formed a pattern of guidance that had brought her fleet to Earth at precisely the right time, following precisely the right approach vector, with precisely the right complement of ships and personnel. "Survey leader," Corvain Tell whispered, "we didn't find Earth. Earth found us." Everything about this mission had been manipulation. The intelligence reports that had identified Earth as a suitable conquest target. The sensor readings that had confirmed human technological limitations. The orbital approach that had positioned them perfectly for detailed observation of the planet's surface. Humanity hadn't been waiting for random Dominion survey fleets to discover them. They had been actively recruiting specific fleets, choosing their moments of contact with the same precision they brought to their planetary engineering projects. The next transmission from Earth's surface came again speaking perfect Dominion military language, again demonstrating impossible knowledge of their position and capabilities. "Survey leader Vex Althari, you have reviewed the historical records and reached the correct conclusions. We compliment your analytical abilities. You are invited to send a diplomatic envoy to Earth's surface for direct communication. Coordinates are being transmitted to your navigation systems now." Everything in her military training screamed that accepting the invitation would be catastrophic. Kelvin Moore's fleet had trusted human cooperation, and 60% of his personnel had never returned home. But refusing the invitation would leave her with no understanding of what humanity wanted or what they were capable of. And if Earth's capabilities had expanded 40-fold since the previous encounter, retreat might not even be possible. "Prepare a diplomatic shuttle. Minimal crew, maximum sensor recording capability. As her aides scrambled to implement her orders, Vex Althari composed what might be her final transmission to Dominion High Command, proceeding with surface contact as requested by human representatives. If this fleet fails to report within 15 rotations, recommend permanent quarantine of Sol system and classification as hostile unknown technology zone. The blue world continued to glow beneath them, its mysterious radiance seeming to pulse with anticipation as Vex Althari prepared to discover exactly what Earth wanted from the Dominion, and what price it was willing to extract from those foolish enough to consider conquest. The diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with none of the atmospheric resistance or turbulence that Vex Althari expected from a Deathworld approach. Instead, the craft glided smoothly through air that felt somehow cooperative, as if the planet itself was guiding their descent. The landing coordinates led to a location that existed on no map in their databases. A vast circular plaza constructed from materials that looked like polished obsidian, but generated their own subtle illumination. The plaza sat in the center of what appeared to be a major human city, yet their orbital scans had detected no such structure. "Survey leader," reported Kellner Vex, the shuttle's sensor specialist, "the landing site is registering construction dates that predate human industrial civilization by at least 6 centuries. But the materials show no signs of weathering or age-related deterioration." As they disembarked, Vex Althari was struck by the profound silence surrounding them. Despite being in the center of a major population area, no sounds of human activity reached their audio receptors. The silence was deliberate, purposeful, as if the entire city had been cleared specifically for this encounter. 3 figures approached across the plaza's gleaming surface. 2 appeared to be humans, matching their intelligence profiles. The third was something else entirely. As they drew closer, Vex Althari's enhanced vision systems struggled to process what she was seeing. The third figure possessed a humanoid general form, but seemed to exist in a state of controlled energy fluctuation. Its outline shifted and wavered like heat distortion, and where its face should have been, geometric patterns of light pulsed with mathematical precision. "Survey leader Vex Althari," the first human spoke, her voice carrying the precise pronunciation and formal inflection of someone who had studied Dominion languages at an academic level. "I am Director Nephis Corrigan of the Earth Integration Project. This is my colleague, Dr. Davian Reyes, of the Temporal Analysis Division. And this," she gestured toward the shifting energy figure, "is Keeper Zeth Hadris, representative of the original architects." Vex Althari's mandibles clicked involuntary recognition. Zeth Hadris was unmistakably a member of the Hadari Collective, a species that had vanished from the galaxy over 3,000 years ago, leaving behind only ruins of incomprehensible technology and myths about their mastery of space-time manipulation. But Hadari didn't exist anymore. Their entire civilization had disappeared during what galactic historians called the Great Silence, an event so catastrophic that it had erased them from the universe without leaving any trace of how or why, except, apparently, on Earth. "Impossible," Vex Althari whispered. "The Hadari vanished millennia ago. They were a myth, a legend told by archaeologists and theoretical physicists." Keeper Zeth Hadris spoke, its voice resonating with harmonics that seemed to originate from multiple dimensional frequencies simultaneously. "We did not vanish, Survey Leader. We relocated. When the galaxy became too small to contain our experiments, we required a more suitable laboratory. Earth provided the necessary isolation and resources." Dr. Reyes stepped forward. "The Hadari arrived here approximately 3,200 years ago. They found a planet inhabited by early human civilizations and proposed a partnership. We provided biological diversity and adaptive capability. They provided technology and temporal manipulation expertise. The result," Director Corrigan continued, has been the most successful long-term strategic project in galactic history. We have spent 3 millennia preparing for this moment, the day when the Dominion's expansion would bring them within range of our operational parameters. You've been planning this encounter for 3,000 years. Planning is an inadequate term, Keeper Zeth replied. We have been constructing this encounter. Every aspect of Dominion expansion patterns, every detail of your military protocols, every characteristic of your technological development has been carefully studied and incorporated into our calculations. If humanity and the Hadari had been monitoring Dominion civilization for 3 millennia, they possessed intelligence about Dominion capabilities that exceeded anything in her security briefings. They knew Dominion weaknesses, tactical doctrines, command structures, technological limitations, everything necessary to plan the perfect counter-strategy. What do you want? Director Corrigan smiled, an expression that somehow managed to be both genuinely warm and absolutely terrifying. We want to offer the Dominion a choice, Survey Leader, the same choice we offered arch-strategist Kelvin Moore 2 centuries ago. He refused your offer and lost 60% of his fleet. He did not refuse our offer, Dr. Reyes corrected. He accepted it and discovered that he lacked the authority to negotiate on behalf of the Dominion as a whole. His superiors recalled him before the agreement could be finalized. The equipment failures, the psychological breakdowns, the disappearance of his flagship were demonstrations, Keeper Zeth interrupted. We needed to ensure that Dominion High Command understood the consequences of incomplete cooperation. Kelvin Moore's crew members who experienced difficulties were those who attempted to gather intelligence beyond the parameters of our agreement. His flagship disappeared because its captain tried to implement unauthorized orbital bombardment protocols. They hadn't been victims of Dominion conquest attempts. They had been conducting carefully controlled negotiations disguised as military encounters. And the choice you're offering now? Director Corrigan gestured toward the gleaming plaza surrounding them. Observe, Survey Leader. The obsidian surface beneath their feet began to glow with internal light, revealing patterns that extended far beyond the visible boundaries of the plaza. Geometric designs that suggested vast technological installations spread across hundreds of kilometers of underground construction, energy conduits that connected to similar installations on every continent, communication networks that linked Earth to signal sources throughout the galaxy. But most disturbing were the defensive installations. The sensor displays showed weapons systems that operated on principles beyond Dominion physics, energy manipulation technologies that could destabilize matter at the subatomic level, gravitational control systems capable of creating artificial singularities, temporal distortion fields that could trap entire fleets in causality loops. Earth is not a death world that happens to support human civilization, Dr. Reyes explained as the displays revealed the planet's true nature. Earth is a weapons platform, disguised as a death world, operated by a human Hadari alliance specifically designed to intercept and evaluate expanding galactic civilizations. You are not the first species to discover us, Keeper Zeth added. Over the past millennium, 17 different civilizations have reached technological levels sufficient for interstellar expansion. Each has eventually detected Earth and attempted conquest or colonization. What happened to them? Director Corrigan's smile took on a distinctly predatory quality. That depends on the choices they made when offered our partnership proposal. The plaza's illuminated patterns shifted, revealing star maps that documented the fate of those previous civilizations. Some had accepted humanity's partnership terms and were now thriving as junior members of what the displays identified as the Terran Cooperative, a multi-species alliance that spanned dozens of star systems under Earth's discrete guidance. Others had rejected the partnership and attempted military solutions. Their star systems now showed as empty zones on the galactic map, devoid of any electromagnetic emissions or signs of continued civilization. You destroyed them. We absorbed them, Keeper Zeth Hadris corrected. Their populations were relocated to suitable worlds within cooperative territory. Their technologies were integrated into our research archives. Their cultural knowledge was preserved in our educational systems. None were harmed, but none retained independent political authority. And their home worlds were sterilized and converted to resource extraction installations. Dr. Reyes answered matter-of-factly. Civilizations that choose conquest over cooperation forfeit their claim to territorial sovereignty. The Terran Cooperative controlled resources from across the galaxy, disguised as empty space on every star chart the Dominion possessed. Their member species provided specialized knowledge and capabilities that complemented Earth's Hadari-enhanced technology. Most importantly, they had been observing and evaluating Dominion expansion for centuries, gathering intelligence about Dominion capabilities while remaining completely invisible to Dominion sensors. What are your terms? Director Corrigan activated new displays showing detailed proposals for Dominion integration into cooperative structures. The terms were generous. Preservation of Dominion cultural identity, continued autonomy for internal governance, access to cooperative technology and resources, and representation in strategic planning councils. But buried in the technical specifications was the true price: complete cessation of independent expansion activities, mandatory participation in cooperative monitoring of emerging galactic civilizations, and submission to Earth's ultimate authority in all matters involving contact with non-cooperative species. You want us to become your enforcement division. We want you to become our partners in galactic stabilization, Dr. Reyes corrected. The Dominion's military capabilities and organizational expertise would be invaluable assets in managing the challenges of interstellar civilization development. Keeper Zeth Hadris gestured toward new star charts, showing the galaxy's current political situation. 47 species have achieved interstellar capability but remain uncontacted by either Dominion or cooperative forces. In approximately 2 centuries, statistical projections indicate that at least 12 will reach technological levels sufficient for significant territorial expansion. Without careful guidance, the probability of destructive interstellar conflicts approaches mathematical certainty. And if the Dominion refuses your partnership offer, Director Corrigan's expression remained pleasantly neutral. Then the Dominion joins the archives as a historical curiosity, and we recruit alternative enforcement specialists from the 47 uncontacted species. Several show promising military potential, though none possess the Dominion's institutional experience with large-scale conquest operations. The casual certainty in her voice was more intimidating than any military threat could have been. Humanity wasn't desperately trying to avoid Dominion conquest. They were conducting a job interview for positions in their galactic management organization. How long do I have to provide an answer? Your personal opinion carries no authority in this decision, Keeper Zeth Hadris replied. You will return to your fleet and transmit our proposal to Dominion High Command using the communication protocols we provide. They will have 30 rotations to respond with either acceptance or rejection. And if they choose rejection, Dr. Reyes activated final displays showing Dominion fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Every ship, every base, every outpost glowed with targeting markers that indicated precise knowledge of their locations, capabilities, and current operational status. Then they will discover that every Dominion facility in the galaxy has been under continuous observation by cooperative intelligence networks for the past 4 centuries. Simultaneous neutralization of your entire military infrastructure would require approximately 6 time cycles to complete. If humanity possessed real-time intelligence about every Dominion installation, Combined with the technological capabilities they had demonstrated, resistance would be not just unsuccessful, but absurdly brief. 30 rotations, she repeated. 30 rotations, Director Corrigan confirmed, during which time your fleet will remain in Earth orbit as our guests. We will provide detailed tours of our facilities, complete technical briefings on cooperative capabilities, and comprehensive cultural orientation programs for your personnel. As they escorted her back toward the shuttle, Vex Althari found herself studying humanity's true representatives with new understanding. They weren't primitive Deathworld inhabitants who had somehow acquired advanced technology. They were the product of 3 millennia of deliberate evolution, guided by the galaxy's most sophisticated civilization, specifically designed to serve as humanity's interface with expanding alien cultures. Every aspect of their behavior was calculated to project calm competence while demonstrating overwhelming capability. They offered generous terms backed by absolute certainty of enforcement. They provided detailed explanations while making clear that negotiation was impossible. "Survey leader," Dr. Reyes said as they reached the shuttle, "you should know that several of your crew members have already expressed interest in voluntary cultural exchange programs. We believe they will find extended residence on Earth quite pleasant, and if they choose not to return to Dominion space, then they will be welcome to permanent citizenship in the Terran Cooperative. We have found that exposure to our actual capabilities tends to clarify personal loyalties quite effectively. Humanity wasn't just offering the Dominion a choice between cooperation and destruction. They were offering individual Dominion citizens the opportunity to abandon their allegiance to a government that would soon be either subordinate to Earth or extinct." As the shuttle lifted off from the Obsidian Plaza, she watched Earth's surface recede and tried to comprehend the true scope of what she had discovered. Humanity hadn't been hiding advanced technology behind primitive appearances. They had been operating the galaxy's most sophisticated intelligence and enforcement organization, while allowing other species to believe they were the dominant powers. Every major galactic civilization had spent centuries thinking they were expanding into empty space and discovering new worlds through their own exploration efforts. In reality, they had been guided into contact with specific systems by careful manipulation of their navigation and communication systems, allowing Earth to evaluate their potential as either partners or threats. The blue glow that had initially attracted her attention wasn't just a byproduct of Earth's unusual energy systems. It was a beacon, deliberately designed to draw the attention of species that had achieved sufficient technological development to pose either opportunities or dangers to galactic stability. And every species that followed that beacon found themselves sitting exactly where she sat now, in orbit around a weapon disguised as a world, facing a choice between joining humanity's galactic management project or becoming another entry in their historical archives. Back aboard her command ship, Vex Althari composed the most important transmission of her career. "High Command Priority Alert," she began. "Survey Leader Vex Althari, reporting completion of initial Earth contact protocols. Previous intelligence assessments require complete revision. Human civilization represents previously unknown galactic power structure of unprecedented scope and capability." She paused, considering how to make High Command understand that everything they thought they knew about galactic politics was carefully constructed illusion. Earth is not a Deathworld conquest target. Earth is the administrative center of a multi-species alliance that has been monitoring and managing galactic civilization development for approximately 3,000 years. Human representatives have presented formal partnership proposal with 30 rotation response deadline. Recommend immediate consultation with Supreme Strategic Council. She sealed the transmission and watched it compress into quantum-encrypted data streams that would reach High Command in less than 3 rotations. Whatever decision they made would determine whether the Dominion continued to exist as a political entity or became another historical footnote in humanity's carefully maintained archives. The response arrived exactly as scheduled. The Dominion accepts cooperative partnership terms and looks forward to productive collaboration in galactic civilization management. But by then, Vex Althari had learned enough about humanity's strategic planning to understand that High Command's response had been written into Earth's operational projections 3,000 years before the first Dominion ship had ever detected the Sol system's unusual electromagnetic emissions. The integration process began immediately, and Vex Althari found herself assigned to evaluate 3 species that had recently achieved interstellar flight capability. Working alongside human strategists and Hadari temporal analysts, she discovered that the galaxy contained far more intelligent life than any Dominion surveys had ever detected. Species that showed excessive aggressive tendencies were guided away from interstellar contact through subtle manipulation of their astronomical observations and technological development. They were allowed to believe they existed in empty space until their civilizations either matured sufficiently for contact or exhausted their planetary resources and collapsed. As their mission progressed, Vex Althari observed intervention protocols in action and found them remarkably effective. None of the target species realized they were being managed. The interventions were subtle enough to appear as natural development patterns. She was no longer a Dominion survey leader conducting reconnaissance on a potential conquest target. She was a cooperative enforcement specialist participating in the ongoing project of galactic civilization development. And the most disturbing aspect of this transformation was how natural it felt. 6 months later, Vex Althari received an assignment that revealed the true scope of Earth's operations. Command of a joint task force responsible for evaluating what cooperative intelligence classified as a significant anomaly in galactic development patterns. The anomaly was a species called the Zentauros, originating from a star system that shouldn't have been capable of supporting advanced technological civilization. Yet cooperative monitoring stations had detected electromagnetic emissions, indicating technology that operated on principles unknown to cooperative databases. This violates everything we understand about environmental limitations on species development, Dr. Reyes explained. According to our models, complex life should be impossible under those stellar conditions. Yet our sensors are detecting energy signatures that suggest technological capabilities potentially exceeding cooperative standards. As the Joint Task Force approached Zentauros territory, they received a transmission that demonstrated capabilities rivaling cooperative technology. The voice spoke perfect cooperative standard, a language developed specifically for interspecies communication within Earth's alliance structure. Terran Cooperative Task Force, you are approaching Zentauros territorial boundaries. State your intentions. This is Survey Leader Vex Althari, commanding Cooperative Task Force Meridian. We request diplomatic contact with Zentauros leadership. Task Force Meridian is granted limited access for diplomatic purposes. You will be escorted to designated contact facilities. 3 vessels materialized around their task force without any sensor warning, ships that seemed to exist in controlled states of temporal fluctuation, constantly shifting between multiple dimensional phases. The Zentauros representatives who met them were immediately recognizable as fellow sapients, but their technology integration was unlike anything among cooperative member species. They appeared to exist in symbiotic relationships with technological systems that enhanced their capabilities without obscuring their biological nature. Welcome to Zentauros space, their primary representative said, speaking through communication methods that translated directly into consciousness. I am Nexus Prime Valdris Corthane. We have been monitoring Terran cooperative development for approximately 400 years. The revelation struck like a physical blow. 400 years of monitoring meant that Zentauros had been observing cooperative operations since before most current member species had achieved interstellar flight. You have been watching us? We have been evaluating you, Nexus Prime Corthan corrected. When we detected evidence of coordinated galactic civilization management, we needed to determine whether the Terran cooperative represented a beneficial development or a potential threat to galactic stability. And what conclusions have you reached? That depends on the answers to questions we hope this meeting will resolve. Nexus Prime Corthan activated displays showing detailed knowledge of cooperative operations extending back centuries, intelligence about member species capabilities, records of intervention operations, comprehensive analyses of Earth's technological development patterns. We know what you have accomplished. What we need to understand is what you intend to accomplish next. The negotiations that followed were unlike anything in Vex Althari's experience, primarily because the Terran cooperative found itself in discussions with representatives who possessed comparable knowledge and capabilities. Nexus Prime Corthan presented Zentauros technological achievements that demonstrated independent mastery of principles the cooperative had considered unique to their Hadari-enhanced development. Time manipulation techniques that surpassed current Hadari capabilities. Energy manipulation systems that operated through dimensional mathematics unknown to cooperative databases. How did you achieve these capabilities? Keeper Zethhadris asked. Through necessity, Nexus Prime Corthan replied. Our home system's stellar instability forced rapid technological advancement or extinction. We developed time manipulation technology to extend research periods beyond the limitations imposed by our star's radiation cycles. You weren't alone, Dr. Reyes said, his tone carrying flat certainty. No, we were not. Who helped you? We called them the architects. They arrived in our system approximately 2,000 years ago, when our civilization was facing extinction due to increasing stellar instability. They offered technological assistance in exchange for our participation in what they described as galactic stability research. If unknown species possessed capabilities exceeding cooperative technology, and if they were actively recruiting client civilizations, Earth's position as the galaxy's dominant power could be challenged. Where are these architects now? Unknown. They departed our system approximately 500 years ago after ensuring that our technological development was sufficient for independent survival. They left instructions for us to monitor galactic civilization development and report significant changes in interspecies organization patterns, which is why you began monitoring the Terran cooperative, Director Corrigan finished. Correct. The emergence of coordinated galactic civilization management represented exactly the type of development the architects instructed us to observe. Keeper Zethhadris activated analysis displays. You suspect that the architects who assisted your development are connected to the forces that guided the Hadari to Earth. We suspect that the architects are the Hadari, operating under alternative identification protocols for different phases of their galactic development project. The diplomatic chamber fell silent as representatives processed this possibility. If the Hadari had been conducting multiple simultaneous civilization development projects across the galaxy, the Terran cooperative might be only one component of a larger strategic operation. That would explain how Zentauros achieved capabilities comparable to ours through independent development, Dr. Reyes said slowly. Nexus Prime Corthan activated new displays showing stellar charts that included several systems the cooperative had classified as uninhabited. Our long-range sensors have detected similar technological signatures in 12 other star systems across the galaxy. Each shows evidence of advanced civilization development that exceeds natural evolutionary timelines. 12 other species with capabilities comparable to ours. 12 other species with capabilities that complement rather than duplicate cooperative abilities. The stellar charts revealed the true scope of what they were facing. 13 star systems, including Earth and Centauros, positioned at strategic intervals across the galaxy's spiral arms. Each possessed capabilities that appeared to complement rather than compete with the others. Earth, galactic civilization management and species integration; Centauros, time manipulation and dimensional engineering; Kelthara Prime, biological enhancement and ecosystem control; Meridian Nexus, quantum communication and information management. Together, the 13 systems possessed capabilities that could control, monitor, and direct the development of every species in the galaxy. We are not independent civilizations, Vex Althari realized with growing understanding. We are specialized departments in a galactic administration system. That appears to be correct, Nexus Prime Corthine confirmed. The question that remains is whether this administration system serves our interests or merely uses us as instruments for achieving objectives we do not understand. If the Hadari orchestrated the development of 13 specialized civilizations, they possess planning capabilities that extend across millennia and strategic resources that dwarf anything we previously imagined, Dr. Reyes said. But more importantly, Director Corrigan added, they have demonstrated the ability to remain hidden from our detection systems while maintaining oversight of our operations. Keeper Zeth Hadris provided the analysis that crystallized their situation. We are being evaluated. The architects arranged this contact to assess how we would respond to evidence of larger galactic organization patterns. Our response will determine whether we continue operating with limited knowledge or receive access to the complete strategic framework. And if we respond incorrectly, then we join the archives, Nexus Prime Corthine replied, with the same matter-of-fact certainty that cooperative representatives used when discussing species that failed integration evaluations. As the diplomatic session continued, Vex Althari found herself analyzing their situation from multiple perspectives and reaching the same conclusion. They were participating in a final examination whose passing requirements remained unknown. The Terran Cooperative had built its identity around the assumption that humanity represented the galaxy's most advanced civilization management system. Now they faced evidence that they were middle management personnel in an organization whose upper levels remained completely hidden. What do the architects want from us? Proof that our development has reached sufficient maturity for inclusion in active galactic administration operations, Nexus Prime Corthine replied. The 13 specialized civilizations were designed to function as an integrated management system. Until now, we have operated independently, each believing we were the dominant power in our region of space. Recent developments suggest that galactic civilization has reached complexity levels requiring coordinated administration. The architects need to know whether we can function as a coordinated team rather than competing organizations. The diplomatic session concluded with formal agreements for information sharing and coordination protocols, but Vex Althari understood that the real negotiations had nothing to do with anything they said or signed. The architects were evaluating their responses, their strategic thinking, their ability to adapt to radically revised understanding of their position in galactic politics. As the joint task force departed Centauros space, she contemplated the irony of their situation. For months, she had prided herself on adapting successfully to membership in humanity's galactic management organization. Now she faced the possibility that humanity itself was adapting to membership in someone else's galactic management organization. The blue glow of Earth that had initially attracted her attention as a potential conquest target now revealed itself as something far more complex. a beacon that had drawn her species into contact with a management system so sophisticated that its operators remained invisible even to the civilizations they had spent millennia developing. But the most disturbing realization was that this revelation felt familiar. The same psychological adjustment she had experienced when joining the Terran Cooperative was happening again as she contemplated integration into the architect's larger framework, which suggested that the process was designed to be repeatable, scalable, and ultimately irresistible. As their ships entered faster-than-light transit for the return journey to Earth, Vex Althari received a priority transmission from an unknown source. Survey Leader Vex Althari, your performance during the Zen Tauros contact mission has been evaluated as satisfactory. You are hereby promoted to Regional Coordination Specialist, Galactic Administration Division. Report to your new assignment coordinates upon return to Earth. The real work begins now. The transmission ended without identifying its source, but Vex Althari had no doubt about who had sent it. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the architects were watching, evaluating, and implementing the next phase of whatever project had been guiding galactic development for far longer than anyone had imagined. The return journey to Earth provided 3 weeks to process the implications of their discoveries. The evidence was undeniable. The Terran Cooperative was not Earth's independent galactic management organization, but humanity's assigned function within a larger administrative system operated by entities whose capabilities and objectives remained largely unknown. Most disturbing was the realization that this pattern of gradual revelation and integration appeared to be standard operating procedure. The process of psychological adjustment to successive levels of galactic organization seemed designed to be repeatable and ultimately irresistible. Upon arrival at Earth, Vex Althari was directed to a facility she had never seen during her previous visits. Located in what appeared to be empty ocean, the installation existed primarily in controlled dimensional space that allowed it to occupy the same physical location as normal seawater while maintaining complete independence. The facility's interior adapted continuously to accommodate whatever individuals were present, walls that shifted between transparent and opaque depending on privacy needs, atmospheric composition that adjusted automatically to provide optimal breathing conditions, gravitational fields that modified themselves to match comfort preferences while maintaining structural integrity. "Welcome to Regional Administration Headquarters," her guide announced. "You are expected in Conference Chamber Alpha." The chamber contained representatives from all 13 specialized civilizations. Each possessed technological integration that demonstrated successful adaptation to whatever development programs the architects had implemented, but the diversity of approaches was staggering. Regional Coordination Specialist Vex Althari, the session coordinator, spoke, its communication interfacing directly with her consciousness. "You have been selected to participate in the first coordinated galactic administration exercise. This will serve as both operational assignment and final evaluation of readiness for advanced management responsibilities." The assignment parameters materialized as information integrated into her awareness. Evaluation and integration of 47 species that had achieved interstellar capability but remained uncontacted by any administrative organization. The task required coordination between all 13 specialized civilizations. Timeline for completion: 1 standard galactic rotation. Success criteria: peaceful integration of at least 35 target species into appropriate administrative structures. Failure consequences: reassignment to positions more suited to demonstrated capability levels. As the briefing continued, Vex Althari understood that she was participating in the galactic equivalent of a final examination. The architects had spent millennia developing 13 specialized civilizations specifically for managing galaxy-wide species development. Now they were testing whether their investment had produced a functional administrative system. "What about the architects themselves? When do we receive direct contact with our actual supervisors?" Upon successful completion of coordination assignments, direct interface with architect-level entities requires psychological preparation that can only be achieved through practical experience with galactic administration responsibilities. Even after thousands of years of development and multiple levels of technological enhancement, their species were not yet ready for contact with the entities who had orchestrated their advancement. The architects possessed capabilities so far beyond current understanding that direct communication would be psychologically devastating. As the coordination assignments were distributed, Vex Althari found herself responsible for managing military and security aspects of the species integration project. Her role involved coordinating with biological enhancement specialists, psychological manipulation experts, and technological development advisors from the other specialized civilizations. The 47 target species represented every possible variation of interstellar civilization development. The diversity was intentional. Successful galactic administration required management techniques that could accommodate any possible form of intelligent development. The evaluation period began immediately, and within days, Vex Althari found herself coordinating operations across dozens of star systems while managing the most complex species integration project in recorded galactic history. Despite the overwhelming scope of the assignment, she discovered that the work felt not just familiar, but necessary. The galaxy had reached complexity levels that required systematic administration. The architects hadn't created an arbitrary management system. They had developed the administrative infrastructure necessary to prevent galactic civilization from collapsing under the weight of its own success. 6 months into the coordination assignment, as 38 of the 47 target species had successfully integrated into appropriate administrative structures, Vex Althari received her final revelation about the true nature of the galaxy and her role within it. The transmission came from the same unknown source. Regional Coordination Specialist Vex Althari, your performance during the Species Integration Project has exceeded expectations. All specialized civilizations have demonstrated readiness for advanced responsibilities. You are hereby notified that graduation protocols are now active. The architects will reveal themselves when you are prepared for direct contact. Begin preparation for your new assignment, training the next generation of galactic administrators. As the transmission ended, Vex Althari finally understood the complete scope of what had been happening. The 13 specialized civilizations were not the endpoint of the architect's development project. They were the beginning. The real objective was to create a self-sustaining system for developing new galactic administrators from emerging species. The blue glow that had drawn her to Earth was not just a beacon calling to potential subjects or allies. It was a graduation announcement, signaling that humanity's administrative training was complete, and Earth was ready to begin training the next class of galactic civilization managers.